It was a typical Monday morning at the clinic when I met Charles, a 52-year-old businessman who arrived with a worried expression on his face. As a urologist for 15 years, I had become accustomed to seeing that countenance, men who, after years of neglecting their own health, finally decided to seek medical help. "Dr. Sarah, I can't take waking up so many times during the night to go to the bathroom anymore. My wife insisted that I come, but I confess I was very reluctant," he admitted, adjusting himself in the office chair. That confession didn't surprise me. As a specialist in urology and andrology, graduated from Stanford and with residency at Mayo Clinic, I had already treated hundreds of patients with similar stories. While conducting a detailed medical history, Charles told me about his busy routine as the owner of a restaurant chain in Chicago. "Doctor, my diet is terrible. I eat what's left from the restaurant, lots of meat, fried foods, soda. I know, it's not ideal, but I never had time to think about it," he confessed, running his hand through the back of his neck in an embarrassed gesture. With a welcoming smile, I explained to Charles that his situation was more common than he imagined. Many men come here with similar symptoms, and we often find that inadequate nutrition is one of the main causes, I commented, while opening some illustrative images about the prostate and its relationship with eating habits on my computer. During the consultation, I noticed that Charles became increasingly interested when I began explaining how certain foods could directly influence prostate health. His eyes widened when I mentioned that simple changes in diet could significantly reduce his urinary symptoms. "Did you know, for example, that watermelon, besides being refreshing, is rich in lycopene? This is a powerful antioxidant that helps protect prostate cells against damage," I explained, observing his growing interest. "And that's not all. The citrulline present in it improves blood circulation, which is fundamental for overall male health." Charles took out his phone and started taking notes. It was gratifying to see how receptive he was to the information. I continued explaining about other beneficial fruits, like pears, rich in fiber and antioxidants, which help reduce prostate inflammation and promote urinary system health. "But doctor, I confess I'm surprised. I always thought these prostate problems could only be solved with strong medications or more invasive procedures," he commented, visibly more relaxed than when he had entered the office. I took this moment to clarify one of the biggest misconceptions I encounter in my clinical practice. "Charles, modern medicine teaches us more and more about the importance of prevention. Of course, there are cases that require medication or surgical intervention, but often we can prevent or minimize prostate problems with lifestyle changes, especially in diet." While explaining, I opened some recent studies from the Journal of Cancer Epidemiology on my computer, showing how regular consumption of certain foods was associated with better prostate health. Charles leaned forward, interested in the graphs and data I was showing. "The secret is to start slowly," I advised. "I don't expect you to revolutionize your diet overnight. Let's start with small changes, gradually including some protective foods in your diet." Before ending that first consultation, I noticed that Charles was already different. His worried expression had given way to one of determination. He had understood that he had the power to positively influence his health through more conscious food choices. "Dr. Sarah, you've given me hope. I always thought these problems were a sentence I would have to carry forever because of my age. I never imagined that diet could make such a difference," he said, standing up to say goodbye. 3 weeks after our first consultation, Charles returned to the office with a smile on his face and a bag of fruit in his hands. "Doctor, I brought you some pomegranates from my restaurant to try. We started serving pomegranate juice at breakfast after our conversation, and customers are loving it." That simple gesture represented much more than a courtesy. It was the symbol of a transformation that was just beginning. As a medical specialist in men's health, with international experience in sexual medicine, I had already witnessed many positive changes in my patients, but Charles's enthusiasm was contagious. "You can't imagine how happy I am to see this enthusiasm," I commented, while organizing his new tests on the table. "Tell me how these first weeks were with the changes in your diet." Charles settled into the chair and began to report his discoveries. Doctor, I confess that at first I thought it would be harder. I started including watermelon at breakfast, as you suggested. Then, I started trying other fruits. Even my chef became interested when I explained the benefits. While he spoke, I observed his new tests with satisfaction. The inflammatory markers already showed a slight improvement, even in such a short time. It was another confirmation of what years of clinical practice and scientific research had already shown me. Proper nutrition can be a powerful ally in prostate health. The most interesting thing, Charles, is that you're discovering something that many studies have already confirmed. When we make healthy food more accessible and tasty, people naturally become interested, I commented, sharing with him some success cases I had followed throughout my career. Charles then took a small notebook from his pocket. Look, doctor, I started writing down all the changes I made to the restaurant's menu. We included avocado in the breakfast menu, created a special salad with organic tomatoes, and started offering pear desserts. Customers are loving it, especially after we put up small signs explaining the benefits of each ingredient. As a healthcare professional, I've always believed that knowledge should go beyond the walls of the medical office. Seeing Charles not only taking care of his own health, but also sharing this information with his customers was extremely gratifying. You're creating a positive cycle, I explained. By modifying your restaurant's menu, you're contributing to the health of many other people. That's very significant. During our conversation, Charles shared some recipes he had developed with his chef. One particularly caught my attention: a special tomato sauce, prepared over low heat to enhance the release of lycopene. Doctor, after you explained that cooked tomatoes increase nutrient absorption, we decided to rethink our traditional recipe. I took this moment to deepen Charles's knowledge on the subject. The cooking process of tomatoes really makes a big difference. Studies show that lycopene is much better absorbed by the body when the tomato is prepared this way. And the most interesting thing is that this substance is one of the most effective antioxidants in protecting the prostate. Charles then surprised me with a question that demonstrated how much he had delved into the subject. Doctor, I read that pomegranate has even more antioxidants than red wine. That's why we decided to include the juice on the menu. Is that true? With satisfaction, I confirmed his research. Exactly. Pomegranate is a real powerhouse in terms of antioxidants. Its polyphenols and flavonoids are extremely effective in fighting inflammation. And the most interesting thing is that these compounds work in synergy with other nutrients present in the fruits we talked about. Before ending our consultation, Charles made a comment that would remain in my memory. Doctor, I'm realizing that taking care of health doesn't have to be complicated or unpleasant. Sometimes it's the small changes that make the biggest difference. 2 months passed since Charles began his transformation journey. On a busy afternoon of appointments, I received an unexpected message from his chef, Peter, requesting a consultation. I confess I was curious to understand how the changes in the restaurant were affecting the employees. Peter arrived at the office carrying a folder with magazine clippings and notes about healthy eating. Dr. Sarah, after Charles started changing the restaurant's menu, I started researching more about the subject. Can you believe I managed to convince my father to finally see a urologist? As a doctor with specialization in sexual medicine from an international institution, I always advocated that health education happens in a chain. Seeing this happening in practice was extremely gratifying. Peter, that's excellent. Has your father already started follow-up? Yes, doctor. And you know what's most interesting? He was always very resistant to changes in diet, but when I started preparing some special dishes at home, using the techniques we developed at the restaurant, he started to get interested, Peter reported, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. During our consultation, Peter shared how he was adapting traditional recipes to make them healthier. Can you believe we created an avocado-based dessert that became a sensation? Customers are surprised when they discover that besides being delicious, it helps prostate health. I took this moment to deepen Peter's knowledge about the benefits of avocado. Did you know that avocado is rich in good fats, known as monounsaturated? They are fundamental for male hormonal balance. In addition, it contains a substance called lutein, which helps protect against inflammation. Peter was taking notes attentively, asking pertinent questions about how he could further optimize the restaurant's menu. "Doctor, we're thinking of creating a special menu focused on men's health. Do you think you could help us with some scientific information to share with customers?" The idea was brilliant and aligned with my vision that preventive medicine should be present in all spaces. "Of course, Peter. We can create informative materials based on scientific studies, but with accessible language. The important thing is for people to understand that healthy eating can be tasty and bring real health benefits." During our conversation, Peter mentioned something that caught my attention. The restaurant's younger customers were especially interested in prevention information. "It's impressive, Doctor. We have a group of executives in their 30s who started frequenting the restaurant precisely because of the new health-focused menu. This information was particularly relevant to me. As a urologist, I've always advocated that prevention should start early, not just when problems appear. Peter, this is extremely positive. The sooner people understand the importance of nutrition for prostate health, the better the results will be in the future. Peter then shared some touching stories of customers who had modified their eating habits after learning about the restaurant's new menu. "There's this gentleman, Doctor, who comes to have lunch with us every day. He told me that after he started including more tomatoes and tomato-based products in his diet, his prostate exams improved significantly. As a doctor, I know that each case is unique, but the scientific evidence is clear about the benefits of a diet rich in antioxidants and specific nutrients for prostate health. The lycopene present in tomatoes is really a powerful ally. And when we prepare tomatoes the right way, as you're doing in the restaurant, we maximize their benefits." Before ending our consultation, Peter made a request that demonstrated how our care network was expanding. "Doctor, would it be possible for you to participate in an event we're organizing at the restaurant? We want to have a special day focused on men's health, with lectures and a special tasting menu." The event proposed by Peter transformed into a much larger initiative than we had imagined. On a sunny Saturday morning, Charles's restaurant was completely transformed. Tables had been reorganized to create a space for lectures, and a special buffet had been prepared, highlighting all the beneficial foods for men's health that we had discussed over the past few months. As a urologist and andrologist, I had participated in several scientific events, but this one was special. Seeing a traditional restaurant transform into a health education center was a unique experience. Charles and Peter had prepared small informative placards for each dish, explaining their nutritional benefits in a clear and accessible way. "Dr. Sarah, I didn't imagine we'd have so much demand," commented Charles, visibly moved by the number of people who had shown up. The space was filled with men of different ages, many accompanied by their families, all interested in learning more about prevention and health. During my lecture, I addressed themes that I've always considered fundamental in my clinical practice. "Prevention has no age," I explained to the attentive audience. "The earlier we start taking care of our health, especially through nutrition, the better the long-term results." A particularly touching moment was when I presented the results of Charles's exams, with his permission. "Look, in just 3 months of dietary changes, the inflammatory markers showed significant improvement, and most importantly, he achieved these changes without giving up the pleasure of eating well." Among the participants, there was a group of nutrition students who were particularly interested in the synergy between different foods. "How can the combination of certain nutrients enhance their benefits?" asked one of the students. I took the opportunity to explain how the body works in an integrated way. For example, when we combine cooked tomatoes, which are rich in lycopene, with avocado, which contains healthy fats, we increase the absorption of these nutrients. That's why the special sauce developed here at the restaurant is so effective. Peter, who was serving the buffet, complemented my explanation with practical examples. We created a salad that combines roasted cherry tomatoes with avocado and pomegranate seeds. It's not only tasty, but it also brings together 3 of the most beneficial foods for prostate health in a single dish. The event also featured the participation of other health professionals, creating an environment rich in exchange of experiences and knowledge. A sports nutritionist present shared valuable tips on how to incorporate these foods into athletes' diets, highlighting the importance of prevention even among the younger and more active. During the coffee break, I was moved to hear several transformation stories. A 65-year-old gentleman approached me to tell that he had started frequenting the restaurant after his doctor recommended changes in his diet. "Doctor, I never imagined that taking care of health could be so enjoyable. My wife even jokes that now I have to make reservations to have lunch here." The most significant moment of the event was when Charles presented his own journey. With simplicity and honesty, he shared how the change in his eating habits had transformed not only his health, but also his business and his vision of prevention. "When I started this journey, I was just looking to alleviate my symptoms," Charles confessed to the audience. "But I discovered that healthy eating is not synonymous with restriction. It's about making conscious choices and discovering new flavors. And the most rewarding thing is being able to share this knowledge with others." At the end of the event, as I watched people savoring the special buffet and exchanging experiences, I reflected on how small changes can generate big transformations. As a doctor, I've always believed in the power of prevention, but seeing this message multiplying in such an organic and positive way was truly inspiring. The success of the event at Charles's restaurant generated waves of transformation that extended far beyond our initial expectations. A week later, my appointment schedule was full of new patients, many of them inspired by the stories they heard on that special Saturday. As a urologist with extensive experience in men's health, I had witnessed many moments of change in my career. But what was happening was extraordinary. Charles's restaurant had become a reference point for people interested in taking care of their health in a preventive and enjoyable way. "Dr. Sarah, you won't believe it," exclaimed Charles during his follow-up consultation. "We received an invitation to participate in a television program. They want me to tell my story, and Peter to demonstrate some of the recipes we developed." That news represented a unique opportunity to further expand the reach of our message about prevention and men's health. "Charles, that's wonderful. It's a chance to show thousands of people that taking care of health can be something natural and enjoyable." During our conversation, Charles shared how his own relationship with food had completely transformed. "You know, doctor, the other day I caught myself explaining to a supplier about the benefits of lycopene present in tomatoes. 6 months ago, I barely knew what that was." His enthusiasm was contagious, and his most recent exams confirmed the success of his journey. The inflammatory markers had normalized, and his urinary symptoms had improved significantly. As a doctor, it was gratifying to see such positive results through lifestyle changes. "The most interesting thing, Charles, is that you've become an ambassador for men's health. Your personal changes are inspiring other people to take better care of themselves," I commented, showing him a comparative graph of his exams. Peter, who continued developing new recipes, had created a blog sharing tips and information about healthy eating. "The chef is doing an incredible job, doctor," Charles said. He started offering monthly workshops teaching people how to prepare healthy dishes at home. One of the most touching initiatives arose when Charles decided to establish partnerships with local companies. "We started providing meals for some companies here in the region, doctor. Along with each delivery, there's a small informative leaflet about men's health and the importance of prevention. As a health professional trained at a renowned public university, I've always believed in the power of education to transform lives." Seeing this information being shared in such a natural and effective way was extremely gratifying. "Charles, you've created something much bigger than a healthy menu," I commented. "You've developed a business model that puts health first, without compromising on quality and the pleasure of eating well." During our conversation, he shared touching stories of customers who had changed their habits after frequenting the restaurant. A group of executives had even created a breakfast club, meeting regularly to enjoy the special menu with avocado and fruits. "You know what's most rewarding, doctor? Seeing entire families changing their habits. The other day, a customer told me that his 12-year-old son asked to include watermelon at breakfast, after reading our informative placards about the benefits of lycopene. As a specialist in sexual medicine and men's health, I know that sustainable changes start early and involve the whole family. Charles's work was creating a new generation more aware of the importance of prevention. And there's more, Doctor, he continued, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. We were approached by a supermarket chain that wants to create a special section with products focused on men's health. They want us to help select the items and create informative material. 6 months after our first consultation, the office was different. On the walls, in addition to the traditional anatomical posters, there were now photos from the event at Charles's restaurant and newspaper clippings about the initiative that had become a movement for men's health in Chicago. As a urologist and andrologist, I had always dreamed of seeing prevention being treated with the same importance we give to treatments. Charles's story had become a success case that I frequently shared at conferences and lectures. Dr. Sarah, I brought a surprise, said Charles, entering the office with a beautifully arranged fruit basket. These are the new products from our partnership with the supermarket. Each fruit comes with a tag explaining its health benefits. I examined the informative tags with interest. Each one brought scientific information presented in a clear and accessible way, exactly as we had discussed months ago. Charles, this is fantastic. It's the perfect union between quality information and practicality. During our consultation, we reviewed his latest exams. The results were impressive. All parameters were normalized, and his urinary symptoms had practically disappeared. But the most significant thing was seeing how he had transformed into a true health educator. You know, Doctor, last week I received a group of urologists from other states at the restaurant. They wanted to know about our work and understand how we managed to create this culture of prevention, he said proudly. Imagine that, me explaining about prostate health to doctors. As a professional with international specialization in sexual medicine, I know how important this exchange of experiences is. Charles, you've created a model that can be replicated in other cities. It's a way to democratize access to information about men's health. The restaurant had become a reference center for healthy eating. Peter, the chef, now taught regular courses on preparation techniques that maximize the nutritional benefits of foods. The next course already has a waiting list, Doctor, Charles commented. We even have doctors enrolled. One of the most interesting initiatives arose when they started working with local schools. We created an educational program for teenagers, Doctor. Peter goes to schools to talk about healthy eating, and I share my story. It's impressive to see how young people get interested when we understand their language. As a doctor trained at a renowned public university, I've always believed in the transformative power of education. Seeing this knowledge being transmitted in such a natural and effective way to new generations was extremely gratifying. Charles, can you measure the impact your choices have had? Not just on your health, but on the lives of so many other people? I asked, observing his latest clinical analyses. He smiled thoughtfully. You know, Doctor, the other day I was talking to my wife about this. When I came to your consultation for the first time, I was only concerned about my problems. Today, I realized that was the beginning of something much bigger. Charles and his team's work had created a movement of awareness about men's health that was spreading organically. Other restaurants in the city began to follow his example, including healthier options on their menus and providing nutritional information. And the plans for the future, Charles? I asked, curious about the next steps of that so successful initiative. Doctor, we're developing an app, he replied excitedly. People will be able to find healthy recipes, nutrition tips, and even track their progress, all based on the guidance I received here in the office. Before ending our consultation, Charles made a reflection that perfectly summed up our journey. Dr. Sarah, I learned that taking care of health is not a destination, it's a journey. And the most incredible thing is that we can transform this journey into something enjoyable, which benefits not only ourselves, but everyone around us.